Hello everyone, greeting from TCC. So now comes the major part. We have to write the code for shopping cart. So before we actually write the code, or before I explain you the code, there are certain basic things which we have to understand, like how this particular cart thing or cart item thing will work. So we need two classes here. Okay, like one class or one object basically will represent the whole cart, and inside the cart will be placing cart items. Okay, so basically now we need two objects here. So one is called cart and one is cart items. Okay, so basically we'll be putting all the cart items inside the cart object. So we'll be creating this two objects by defining two classes, cart item and cart, one by one. So when we talk about cart item, so there are certain properties which are associated with the cart item. Is like for cart item, that is one product ID, the product name, product image, that is a URL, quantity of course, and the price and the subtotal, because a user can add 2-3 quantities, so that quantity will get multiplied with the price and then we'll be able to calculate the subtotal. We don't have the grand total here because after placing all the cart items in the cart, we'll be calculating the total, the grand total inside the cart object. So here in the cart item, we'll just multiply the quantity with the price. So that's why we need one more variable called subtotal. So basically cart items are nothing but a product which we are going to add inside the cart, and associated all these are the values. So basically we will be creating all this variable which are associated with this object called cart item. And when we talk about cart, so inside cart class we'll be having a function called get item index of ID. This function will help us out to figure it out, like whether the cart item or product already have been added in the cart. If it has been added, then what is the index number? So what is the use? You can understand that if it is already added, so we'll just add the, like we'll just increment the quantity, we'll not add it again. If it has not been added, then it will get added. So for that reason we need to find out the get, like we need to find out the item index of ID. Okay, so for that with this we have this function which will return the integer for it, like get the item index of the ID. We will be passing product ID and we'll try to figure it out whether the in the cart, if the item already been added. If it is added, then get me the index of it. If not, we'll add it, like that. So we have the insert function accordingly. So while inserting a cart item inside the cart, we have to pass product ID, double price, int quantity, string product name, and the image URL. And then we also have to give the liberty and flexibility to the user to update it. So we have to pass row ID, on which particular row we are updating the records, because the cart which will make visible to the user, it will be visible in terms of table. So user can, change, update or delete the row if he or she is not interested or updating the record, like that. So if we are updating, we have to pass the row ID on which particular row we are updating the record. So, and the product ID and the quantity and the double price we have to pass. And if user deletes the particular item, so for that we have a delete function, delete item function, and the last function says total, which will return the total, double value. Okay, so all these things we are going to add inside a C# file. So we are going to create a new C# file here. Okay, I'll not be wasting time typing all the code. Okay, it will take a lot of time. So what I'll do, I've already typed the code, created the file. So now I'll explain you the code, like how it works. So let me switch to Visual Studio. Here we go. So this is the shoppingcart.cs file I have created. You can simply right click on your project and say add and go to new item, and then from here you have to select code and then say class and then just give it a name and say add. So I have done in a similar manner. I have created shoppingcart.cs, cs stand for C# file, and then added, and I've placed the code here. So now let's go one by one. So basically cart items are the items which will be getting added inside the cart, which are nothing but our products. So products have product ID, product name, image URL, quantity, price, and the subtotal. Okay, we have the constructor here, empty one, and we also have the constructor which has a parameterized constructor. When we are passing the product ID, product name, image URL, quantity, and price, so it is getting initiated here, and subtotal is getting calculated by multiplying quantity into price. So this is how the cart item will get initialized using this constructor. And we have getter and setter method for every particular variable here, like product ID, get and set, product name, get and set, image URL, quantity, price, and the subtotal. Subtotal we don't have set method because we have to only get it, so return quantity into price. Okay, so whenever we are seeking for any particular value associated with particular card item, so we can get it. So we have getter and setter methods here. Now let's talk about one more class here called cart. So finally, when card item is ready, so we create the cart class. We need object for it. So inside that we need two variables of date time, like when the date is created and the last updated, and we are creating a list of the card items, naming it items. Okay, so we are creating the objects of card items which we have just declared above here, and we are creating a list of it and naming it as a items. Okay, so basically cart will contains items, that is a list of products which we'll be adding. Constructor we have cart, so if currently items, that is the list, is equal to null, that means it will initialize it with the new keyword. Okay, and we'll just note down the date created using the date time class dot now function. So we'll store the date time here in this particular variable. Moving on, then we have the list. Similarly for this variable also we have get and set methods, and this is a method get item index of ID, which we have to, where we have to pass the product ID, and we have to check whether already in the card item if this item has been added. So it goes like this. So let's make the index equal to 0 because we are seeking for index number. So for each, if the cart item in the items, basically if the item.product ID matches, then it will return the index. Okay, if it doesn't match, then index will keep on incrementing. If it doesn't find the product ID, then it will return -1. That means product is not there in the cart already. And here comes the insert function where we have to pass all the things: product ID, price, quantity, product name, and image thing. So here we are calling that function to find out if the product has been already added. So it will add the product inside the cart only if item index is equal to -1 from here. Okay, otherwise else it will just go ahead. If the item is already there in the cart, then it will just increment the quantity by 1. Okay, so if it is not there, then we are creating a cart item object here with a new item, new cart item, and we are associating all the values here. You can see product ID, quantity, price, product name, and image URL. And finally we are adding it to the items list. And again we are storing the date time dot now value here in the last update. Now comes the update function where we have to pass row ID, product ID, quantity, and price, and accordingly we are going in the cart item. We are passing that row ID, like in which particular row we are updating the record, and accordingly product ID, quantity, price will get changed. We are deleting the items, so of course we have to pass again the row ID, and we are asking items, which is a list of cart items, remove it, this row ID, and again updating it. And this is how we are calculating the total last function, which is returning the double value. First of all, we are declaring a t variable double t as equal to 0. So if items equal to null, then return 0. Otherwise, for each item, for each cart item in items, basically item is a list of cart items, so every item in the items we are calculating the value, we are getting total value, subtotal value, and adding it to the t value, and finally returning the t. Okay, so this is the code we required now. Okay, and now we'll be using the object of cart and cart item accordingly in other files. So don't worry, we'll share this code with you all. You can copy and paste it directly. The link will be given in the description from where you can get this code. I hope you people have understood the code, and in the next video we'll go ahead using this file. That's it from this video. Thank you so much.
That's all guys from this video. If you really like this video, press like button and do subscribe to our channel. If any queries or suggestions, do comment below. For more such updates, follow us on Instagram and Facebook.